I was on my way to school on a sampan bus. Well, I was right there by Keawe Street, and we saw the huge, ugly, mean-looking wave coming over Mamo Street. The driver blazed his own trail in a little forest at the end of Kinoole Street, and we saw the wave coming almost all the way up to the Kinoole Street. But then, because it was uphill, it went down and it retreated back into the ocean. See, I'm a survivor, but I didn't even get my feet wet.
Hawaii is the most isolated population center on the planet, located in the middle of the vast Pacific Ocean and surrounded by the Ring of Fire. Called the Ring of Fire because of the extent of volcanic activity and 90% of the world's earthquakes. This map is a travel time map, and what it shows is how long it would take tsunamis to reach us from various locations. So the dates that you see on this map are dates of earthquakes that have produced tsunamis that have affected Hawaii in the last 200 years. The two events that affected us the most were 1946 and 1960 in terms of loss of life and property. So a tsunami is a series of enormous waves generated by geological phenomena such as earthquakes and landslides. In 1946, the distance that the waves traveled was 2,300 miles. The time it took those waves to reach Hawaii, 5 hours. They move the speed of commercial jetliners, 500 to 600 miles per hour in deep water. But in shallow water, they slow down, they bunch up, and they become these incredibly tall walls of water. April 1st, 1946, at 7 in the morning, the tsunami that was generated by the Aleutian earthquake struck Hilo. One of the areas hardest hit was called Shinmachi, which means new town in Japanese. It was largely an area of Japanese immigrants. Some of them had stores on the first level and they lived on the second level. But it was an idyllic area close to the Wailoa River, and it was utterly devastated by the 1946 tsunami.
My name is Etsuko Martin, and I am 92 years old. This was early in the morning, about 7 o'clock. I was getting ready to go to work. Then I hear this car running up and down the street, tooting his horn and yelling, "Tidal wave, tidal wave." I'm thinking, oh yeah, tidal wave, April Fool, that's April Fools. I put on my radio, then I heard about the tidal wave coming into Hilo. When I went downtown, my work was downtown, then I could see all that commotion downtown, tidal wave had hit and the buildings were gone, and I could see the trucks going by with dead bodies and taking them up to the hospital to be identified. There was a town, Shimachi town, right by the river, Bayfront. My lady friend lived upstairs of Shimachi. There was a row of stores and buildings, and she lived upstairs. And downstairs were some stores. And my lady friend lived there, but she had gone off to work, so she left her baby with her mother. Her mother, she lived in that house, right sea level. And that house was taken by the tidal wave, but she got out. She ran across the bridge, and the wave caught her with the baby in her arms. And they found her in Wailoa River with the baby tightly held in her arms.
In all, 96 people died in Hilo in the 1946 tsunami. In the wake, there would be a great deal of rebuilding. Many businesses were able to repair and rebuild and open up again. What emerged was a sense of people helping people, neighbor helping neighbor to recover from this incredible disaster. The damage estimate in 1946 was $26 million, and 159 lives were lost throughout the islands.
The 1946 tsunami, again, was a very unfortunate tragedy, but it helped to make change. Back then, when that particular event occurred, one of the first points at which maybe detection could have occurred off the coast of Alaska and the Aleutians, it was almost immediately affected and inundated, which then prevented them from warning other communities. There was no real Pacific-wide warning system or detection system at that time. So as the waves were approaching Hawaii, there was no indication to the community. There was a very unsuspecting community here in Hawaii, not knowing what that threat was.
Back in 1946, of course, there was no tsunami warning system. And then in 48, the warning system got going. The problem was that the technology really wasn't there. And also, we didn't understand much about earthquakes then. For example, we did not realize that as earthquakes get bigger and bigger and bigger, they speak with a deeper and deeper voice. And you have to take account of those very, very long frequencies that the earthquake is generating. And the seismometers back in 46, they couldn't measure that energy. So the tsunami, the damaging tsunami of 1946, at the time they thought it came from an earthquake that was only magnitude 7.4. We now know, working backwards, that it had to be at least magnitude 8.6. So now we can measure the true size of an earthquake, and we can do it. It takes a few minutes, maybe 10, 15 minutes, but we get the answer right away. The 1946 was actually a huge enigma. The earthquake just seemed way too small for the tsunami, and now it makes sense.
Since then, advancements and improvements have been made to establish a Pacific-wide deep ocean buoy tracking system, monitoring system. We have much better advancements and awareness of what's happening with an event as it unfolds, which puts us in a much better position to forecast, predict what we're going to see, and keep the public informed and guide their decisions. So the 1946 really was maybe the turning point with improving the tsunami warning system, detection system, and advancing us forward.
The 1952 tsunami was from the Kamchatka Peninsula in Russia, and it was a non-hazardous tsunami for Hilo, meaning no loss of life or property. Some people showed complacency. In this particular picture, these individuals were actually wading in the tsunami water looking for taco, squid, and fish, rather than evacuating to higher ground, because although this particular wave in the series was a small one, the next one could have been a bigger wave. On May 22nd, 1960, a 9.5 magnitude earthquake rocked Chile, producing a tsunami that took about 14 or 15 hours to reach Hawaii. Due to the fact that there had been a number of small tsunamis in Hilo in the 1950s, some people did not evacuate. They thought it would be another small event and nothing to worry about. But in fact, at 1:04 a.m., the enormous third wave came in.
People didn't maybe necessarily believe that what was going to happen as it did. You know, that cry wolf syndrome. If things happen frequently enough with no impact or consequence, then it becomes a situation that maybe encourages complacency. And when you read some of the information with the 1960 tsunami, there was a degree of complacency. People felt like, yeah, this was just going to be another one of those events where nothing really happens, but unfortunately it did.
Damage was to the area called Hilo Town, an area of about 40 businesses and hundreds of people. And they had not experienced a tsunami directly previously, and so they thought they were safe in that area. But Waikea Peninsula was devastated by the 1960 tsunami. The third wave of the tsunami actually was a reflected wave, a bounced wave. It bounced off of one part of the bay into the Waikea area.
Yeah, 1960 tsunami, I remembered quite a bit about what happened to our company. because it was gone. At that time, we were located at the Front Street campfire next to Hilo Works. My friend and I will walk down the street, down Manolo Street, and we could see the Hilo Bay, and all what we could see was part of Ironworks. Everything inside of the building was gone, and when we looked at our place, we knew it was flat. It was completely flat, nothing left there, and the only thing left was the floor tile that was on the floor, but everything else was gone.
8 days after the tsunami, the Hawaii Redevelopment Agency was formed. They put into place the Kaiko'o Plan, which was a plan to help restore Hilo. Basically, there were low-cost loans available for businesses. People were given parcels of land to move because clearly construction could not again occur in the inundation zone areas.
We were part of the Small Business Administration that started to work on loans that the people requested the money from. So, I was sitting in that committee, and we were trying to just help them get the financials so that they could apply for a loan.
It was estimated that 500 acres were inundated in the 1960 tsunami. 500 homes were lost or damaged, 150 businesses. Again, 61 lives were lost. Dollar damage estimate, $50 million in 1960 dollars.
The great thing about Hilo is that, after it was clobbered in 1946 and 1960, it retreated from the ocean. So the area of greatest hazard is now parkland. Could we get something significantly bigger than those tsunamis and cause significantly more flooding? Yes, there's no question. The worry is if we get an earthquake like the Japan earthquake, a magnitude 9, if it's in exactly the right spot in the Aleutians, then it's bad news for Hawaii. And then, yes, then we get substantial flooding. And in fact, there are going to be new evacuation maps published imminently, sometime within the next couple of months, that will handle exactly that situation. The good thing about this situation is that we will know that it is one of these bad things, one of these bad tsunamis, and we'll be able to give you 4 hours warning. And we have a pretty darn good idea of how far inland it will get, and that information has been turned over to the counties, and it's being incorporated into the emergency response plans. So it is possible to evacuate from it. But yes, Hilo could be hit again.
Well, I think we're on one hand, very fortunate for what we've experienced in the last century. It helps to raise to the forefront the concern with tsunami. I think our community is very much aware of the vulnerability we have to tsunami events. Combine that with the advances made in communication. When you look at the Japan tsunami in 2011, so much of that was made visible through advances in communication. And when I say visible, not just in taped video or film footage, but almost live footage of what was occurring at the time. As those advances continue and people have information more readily accessible to them, it helps them to appreciate the threat and appreciate the vulnerability we have. I would say prior to that, and maybe even prior to the Indonesian tsunami, there were some segments of the community that felt that this wave action was a well-formed, organized wave structure that maybe even encouraged some people to consider going out and trying to surf it. But what they saw, I think, with the footage that came out from this event, that it's a very disorganized type of a water movement that is very destructive. It is not something that would be attractive for anyone to try to take advantage of for surfing. But it really painted a picture of what that looks like, what a tsunami looks like. Again, going back to the Japan event, when you saw the amount of debris, the amount of silt, everything in the water, how quickly it was moving, how quickly the shoreline coastal water levels rose towards moving container ships and other large vessels and putting them into the community, as well as just completely inundating the area. I think it really helped to educate and bring, again, awareness to the community. in combination with what we've experienced here and the history we have. But we cannot, lose sight or forget the history that our island has had with tsunamis and continually reflect back. There's still a lot of experience that can be shared from survivors of those events.
The mission of the Pacific Tsunami Museum is to promote education and awareness, and we do that through our 12 exhibits and through various outreach programs such as talks to student groups and other groups. You can learn the science of tsunamis and how they've affected us here in Hawaii. We can learn through the stories of others, and I encourage you to visit the museum to be able to make choices in the future when the next tsunami strikes our shores.
I would highly encourage our community to come out, take advantage of the resources here. The staff is very informative, the volunteers are very informative, can share knowledge and experience. The exhibits are just extraordinary and are becoming more interactive, so that even for the young children, it's very easy for them to have a better understanding of the mechanics of earthquakes and tsunamis, and do it in a very interactive way, so the lessons are very valuable to everyone. So I would just definitely want to encourage the community to take advantage of this resource in our community that can provide you with a lot of information on how to be safer and take care of your family.
The museum itself has serviced not only this state of Hawaii, but the whole world, because we have had museum people come from Japan, from other parts of the world, just to see how we operate and how we have succeeded. It's a wonderful place. Please do come and visit us.